Hey everyone, it's Dr. Kev again. Welcome to the third in my little series of videos here for SportHiTech. SportHiTech, our music store. They sell thousands of parts for millions of instruments, as they say themselves. They also do a lot of guitar tech and setup work, including, of course, their Plek machine. Now, these videos are intended to discuss some of the terms and concepts around the setup of your guitar, to explain those terms and concepts and help to avoid confusion and misunderstandings. Today, we'd like to discuss some myth and misunderstanding around the Plek machine. The first thing I'd like to deal with is perhaps the greatest myth about the Plek machine, and that is that the Plek machine allows you to have sort of infinitely low string action without any fret buzz. Well, that's just not true, and it can't be true. Let me explain. Now, as we discussed in previous videos, which if you haven't seen, go and check them out. The links should be down below in the description. Our strings need room to vibrate freely if they're to avoid hitting frets higher up the guitar neck when we play. If they vibrate too much for the space that's available to the frets, we're going to get string buzz, and we don't want that. That basic fact just cannot be ignored. The lower our string action is, the less room there is, and the more likely string buzz or fret buzz is to occur. Okay? Let's think about, imagine I drew a line across the top of all the frets on the guitar. Okay? That's sort of an imaginary playing surface. All right? Now, imagine that our fretwork isn't optimal. Maybe it wasn't well done in the factory, okay? Or maybe the frets are just old and worn, okay? And we get high spots and low spots. That means that imaginary playing surface is now kind of rough and bumpy. It's not optimal. And that means that fret buzz is more likely to occur. The Plek machine can give us back the perfect imaginary playing surface, okay? It can make sure that the height from one fret to the next changes in a smooth and even manner without having frets that are too high and too low. And that can reduce fret buzz to its minimum possible level. But as I just said, strings still need room to vibrate, and if they don't have enough room to vibrate, fret buzz is going to happen again. Remember that the perfect guitar setup is always some amount of compromise between playability and sound quality. If we want really, really low string action, we have to learn to play very lightly or accept a certain amount of fret buzz. That's all there is to it. The Plek machine cannot change that. The second myth I want to bust today is the idea that the Plek machine somehow produces a one-size-fits-all guitar setup that may not be optimum for a lot of players. I think part of this myth comes from the fact that companies like Gibson and Martin use Plek machines in the factory as part of their production line. Instruments go into the Plek machine, everything comes out to a set specification, the guitars go off, and they're finished, and then they hit the stores. But Plekking your guitar isn't like that. When you give your guitar to any guitar tech or luthier, they need to know what you need as a player. And that doesn't change when a Plek machine is involved. The guitar needs to be strung with your preferred brand and gauge of strings, tuned the way you're going to play the guitar. And the guitar will be measured then by the Plek machine exactly that way, with your brand of strings under the string tension that you're going to play it at. So the end result really will be a customized thing for you. And then your custom setup will be saved as customer data. So if you come back 4 or 5 years later, you have a refret done on the guitar, that exact same setup can be reproduced on that guitar with the new frets, or even on a different guitar if you wish. So don't get confused between what happens in a factory, the way Martin and Gibson use the Plek machine, and what happens when your guitar goes to get Pleked. The end result is not a one-size-fits-all. It really is something that'll be custom to you. All right, let's move on again. The last thing I want to address today is the question of whether or not the Plek machine is better or worse than a well-trained human, or can it even completely replace them? First, let's point out that a Plek machine cannot do its job without a well-trained human. A Plek machine requires a luthier or guitar tech to do its job properly. They need to understand exactly what is happening. Their expert intervention will be required for making truss rod adjustments, replacing nut or saddles. Of course, at the end of it all, the fret end dressing and polishing is done by hand too. And they also need to be able to understand the data that the Plek machine is giving out, and it's the tech or luthier who makes the decisions on what work actually gets done with the Plek machine. Can the very best guitar techs and luthiers produce work that is as good as a Plek machine? I think the answer there is yes. I don't think there's a question about that. But the very best guitar techs and luthiers are in huge demand. They may have a many month-long waiting list. For the best guys, their prices are really, really high. And they won't be able to save your guitar's precise data the way a Plek machine can and reproduce it for you years later. The Plek machine is not magic. It's never going to replace the top guitar techs or luthiers. In fact, it requires really good guitar techs or luthiers to get the best out of the machine. It's just a tool, but it's a really useful tool. The Plek machine is such a useful tool that some of the most world-renowned guitar techs and luthiers, people like Joe Glazer and John Suhr, they choose to use Plek machines. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to argue with them. Right, there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it useful. If you have any comments or questions, please let us know. In the meantime, if you haven't checked out the previous videos, go and do so. Link to SportHiTech should be below as well. Link to my YouTube channel should be there too. In the meantime, stay well, stay healthy, keep playing, and have fun. Talk to you soon.